Day 9 recap in the Lindsay Clancy trial, let's go. And I'm not going to say any personal opinions, so if you want to be caught up and just know the facts, I got you. But don't be mistaken, I am going to make a video of my personal thoughts because there are a lot of them. So first we had the employee that worked in the daycare of Lindsay and Patrick's fitness center. Now, she really just talked about how Lindsay would drop off the kids, pick them up at the right time, and that she was just really shy. She did mention that she told Lindsay, hey, you can bring in your little baby. He's old enough now. And she had said that she really didn't want to because she was really worried about him getting sick and just sickness in general. Next up, we had Sarah Carney, and she was the friend that they went to the bonfire a couple of days before the incident, and I was surprised to hear that they actually weren't that close. She had known Patrick for 12 years, and that she had only seen Lindsay like a couple days out of the year, and that they really just had small talk with each other. There was an instance on the bonfire day where they went into the kitchen and noticed that Lindsay was a little bit thinner, but just more quiet, and so they asked how each other were doing, and Lindsay just said good and did not elaborate on that. And then she just said that they had to leave after 2 hours to go and put the kids down for their nap. So next on the stand, we had Dr. Goodhart. She was the psychiatrist that saw Lindsay when Lindsay checked herself in on New Year's night. And at about 4 a.m., she was transported in an ambulance, but checked herself in willingly to the women's mental hospital. So she treated her from the 1st to the 5th, and Lindsay expressed symptoms of just feeling numb, having insomnia, anxiety. There seems to be quite a pattern that Lindsay is convinced that the medications are the thing that was making her feel these symptoms. So the Dr. Goodhart did diagnose her with severe major depressive disorder without psychosis. Dr. Goodhart did consider that maybe Lindsay had bipolar, but she didn't see any psychosis at the time or manic episodes. So Lindsay had expressed that she wanted to taper off of the medication that she was on. And so they decided that they each day were going to lower her dose and see how she was sleeping. So after about the 4th day, she was sleeping pretty well. And she had mentioned that her daughter Cora was having a birthday party and she was hoping to be released a day earlier. So while she was there, she tapered off the Seroquel, okay? And when she left, she was prescribed trazodone and Ativan. She did ask Lindsay if she had any self-harming thoughts multiple times during her stay, and she had said that she did have those thoughts. And when she followed up and said, okay, do you have a plan? She said no, that she's got good support and that she was feeling a lot better. So Dr. Goodhart essentially was just taking her word for it. So when cross-examination happened, Kevin went up on the stand and said, okay, well, so even though you work in a mental institution, you just take people's word for it. And she had said, well, she gave me no reason not to just take her word for it. And so he said, okay, did you look up her past medical history? And she had said, well, I did with what was available to me, but not everything is connected within our medical system. Then he asked, okay, do you know how many times she actually called the self-harm hotline? And she had said no. And if you remember, the Clancy family actually has a civil lawsuit for malpractice on this psychiatrist, as well as the next one we're going to hear from. Next up on the stand, we had the long-awaited Dr. Tuff's testimony. Now, she had testified that Lindsay and her met a total of 14 times before the incident. So they had their first meeting on September 15th, which was an evaluation just to understand Lindsay's symptoms. And she had talked about how she was just feeling numb, feeling depressed, feeling not motivated, anxious. She did put on the report that she drinks maybe 1 to 2 glasses of alcohol 5 times a week and that she does feel guilty about it. They did do a self-harm evaluation as well, and this is the pattern that you're going to see, is that every single time she takes a quiz when she meets with Dr. Tufts and says that she answers no on all of the self-harm questions. And I mean no as in no sort of harm that would cause any red flags. I also want to note too that she never ever claimed to have any sort of hallucinations, and that her and Dr. Tufts' last appointment was the day before January 24th, so the incident. So upon that first initial diagnosis appointment, she was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and adjustment disorder with depressive mood. So she prescribed her a very small dose of Zoloft on that first appointment. And there were, I think, 2 appointments that they had where she still had not taken the Zoloft because she was very hesitant. Now, we heard in the last testimony, actually, that a social worker called Patrick to get some past history. And Patrick had said that Lindsay felt pressured by her friends to take medication. So Lindsay ended up taking 7 pills of 25 milligrams of Zoloft, and she just said that she felt worse and she was not feeling any better. So then Dr. Tufts said, okay, stop taking that. Then prescribed her in October Ativan as well as over-the-counter Benadryl, because Lindsay had said that in the past that had helped her sleep. So the Ativan did make her feel less anxious. So when that combination didn't work, Dr. Tufts suggested a few more cocktails of medication, and Lindsay was very hesitant, said that she wanted to maybe look at of a more natural approach, even suggested maybe if ketamine therapy would be an option. Oh, also, the reason why she wanted to get off of the Ativan is because she was worried that she was becoming dependent on it. So when they had their appointment between November and December, it seemed like Lindsay's symptoms were worsening. She was still feeling depressed, still feeling like she had just felt like a zombie, wasn't getting sleep, felt super anxious. And so Dr. Tufts also maybe thought that she had bipolar, but she wasn't seeing any manic episodes. Same with the other psychiatrist. So while Dr. Tufts was treating Lindsay, Lindsay found another physician and was prescribed more medication when she went to her ER visit. So she came back and said, hey, like I'm on, trazodone, Ativan again, and melatonin. And she was convinced that the Seroquel was the uptick in the worsening symptoms she was having. Then she had an appointment January 16th, and she said that she wasn't feeling like she could connect as well with baby Callan, but was still able to do the basic things like get herself ready and take care of her children, was still not getting sleep. And mind you, every single visit, so for 14 times, she would always answer no to thoughts of self-harm, thoughts of wanting to hurt other people, or hearing any sort of voices. So on January 23rd, the day before this horrible incident, she was on only 2 milligrams of Valium. And then also just Dr. Tufts described her as feeling like she was worsening. Her symptoms were becoming more heightened as far as like the depression and no sleep. So on January 23rd, the day before this horrible incident, they had an appointment, and Lindsay still said that she was not having any self-harming thoughts, was not having any homicidal thoughts, and hearing no voices. She was only prescribed or on at that time 2 milligrams of Valium, and did still seem like she had a very flat affect. And Dr. Tufts added that she just seemed like her symptoms were getting worse, and that herself, like just her whole demeanor, was deteriorating. And with her testimony being so lengthy and intense, the day ended, and on Monday we are going to hear cross-examination of this same witness. So I'm curious to know if this testimony has changed your mind or your perspective about the case. I'm hearing a lot of rumblings, and I really don't think we're going to see the whole picture until Monday. Obviously, there's 2 sides to the story, but curious to know your thoughts.